Welcome back to another process video where I explain the different steps of my process of transferring ink from magazines onto beeswax. And in this episode, I didn't go through the steps before I get to the reveal part. I felt like I've showed enough of the cutting the paper, and it's pretty boring. It's like putting together a collage, a mosaic. So I started this one where I was burnishing the magazine paper into the beeswax. And this is one of my bees, the more realistic paintings I do of bees on flowers. And now after the paper's been burnished into the beeswax, I take some sandpaper and I'm going to lightly sand the back side of that paper. The color I'm wanting to transfer is straight down on top of the beeswax. So by sanding this backside, I open up the paper so it will absorb water. And after the whole panel's been sanded, the slick has been knocked off the magazine paper, I'll be able to spray it with some water, and that will absorb into the paper, making it mushy. And after it gets a little bit mushy, I'm able to rub that paper away, revealing the ink underneath. So let's finish up here. And the process it's pretty time consuming. As you can see, I'm speeding up most of the video. I'll slow it down when we get to revealing the color, just so you can see some of the details in the transfer. So all right, tidying up the edges. I usually go over it 2 or 3 times with the sandpaper. Make sure I don't have any glossiness left on the magazine paper, so I know I get some good water in there. As you can see, I'm just spraying the paper, and you can start seeing the color kind of come through that pulp. And then I let it sit there for a little while, make sure it stays wet. If it dries, it takes a chance of that paper kind of scratching the surface, and I don't want to do that. So, and I've actually slowed this video down in real time. So this is going to take just a minute. And you can see I kind of work my way around the panel, and hopefully not taking a chance to rub away the ink off of the beeswax. So that really thin layer of paper that's holding that really thinner layer of ink, I'm trying to remove the paper without removing the ink, and the ink sticks to the beeswax. And it's not like I'm using a glue or anything. It's just the nature of, I guess the beeswax has just kind of got this tackiness to it. It still has honey in it, or Damar resin if I'm using encaustic medium, and it kind of holds it in place. I think it's magic. It's pretty interesting to me, but I love the effect I get by using beeswax or encaustic medium, because it gives all my paintings this amber glow. It kind of has this nostalgia, this worn feel to it. And the process of transferring ink is also adding to that worn out, it's been around for 100 years look, because it's hard to do a transfer and get a perfect surface. It's virtually impossible. Any of my paintings, when you go up close, you really start to notice the imperfections, and I think that's what gives it life. As you can see here, this is had the paper removed, and at this point, I'm taking that cloth, I keep it wet, buff it a little bit. Sometimes after it dries, it'll start showing that white haze again, so I'll buff it 2 or 3 times before I take a heat gun to it. And I think that's what we're getting ready to do next. I'm going to take the heat gun, and I'm basically just going to go over the surface and get the moisture off, and then let that ink kind of warm up, and the beeswax, of course, is going to warm up too, and those two will fuse together, which creates a stronger bond than it just sitting on top of the beeswax. And you can see I moved the heat gun around quite a bit. I don't want to hold it in one place too long. That thin layer of ink sitting on top of the beeswax, when it gets hot, it will kind of move around. So, and the heat gun by nature has a blower on it. It's blowing out heat, so that forced air will cause areas to have voids if you hold it too long. And so now I'm just taking tools and I'm carving into the wax and the ink that I've transferred on top. This is basically to get highlights and to define some areas of the composition. If I didn't do this, I still had a cool looking painting. But by doing this, I really like that, the texture it gives the painting, because at an angle, especially after I put the varnish on, it gives a little bit of a glare. So something specific like the wings on the bee, after I do those carvings, if the light's hitting it just right on the wall, it looks more realistic, more three-dimensional. And I've slowed it down just a little bit, but you can see that I've got a variety of tools. I use the pointy object most. This is a wire scraper that works really well. And I keep going. I try not to take too much off at first. I keep going back and working more and more into it until I get happy with the way it looks. And sometimes I go back and touch up on it the next day. I don't want to do too much at once, but there it is in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed. I'll be coming out with some more videos soon. Thanks for watching.